If you're watching this, I'm guessing you're probably doing something else while you have this on in the background. You're probably at work, maybe you're doing the dishes, maybe you're driving and you're listening to the audio of this. And I'm assuming that because that is a very common thing that we do today. In this day and age, we have media on in the background. If you go to a restaurant, half the time there are TVs just playing stuff in the background, and we've accepted this as a normal thing now. And I'm here to say, I don't think that's normal at all. No judgment. I come across a lot of people who have this sort of relationship with media. Someone recently told me that they had, I think they watch Friends, the show Friends every year. They just had a recent rewatch. And they get through this by having it on in the background. And that's very I used to do this a lot, actually. I remember having jobs and I got through like all of the show House and Malcolm in the Middle. And of course, podcasts are on while I'm working. I think that's kind of the function of podcasts. It's kind of a weird joke, even, that I don't like most people do not listen to podcasts just sitting in a chair or on the couch and just listening to it. It is a passive activity that you put on to kill time while you wait for your real life to start, your job to end, or the traffic to go away. It's kind of a distraction. So I sort of look at this phenomenon as a kind of entertainment addiction that we have. Not to confuse that with a social media addiction. There's plenty of discourse around that. That's becoming a more mainstream idea. Thank God. But we don't talk as much about just our kind of need to be entertained so consistently, I don't think. And it's worth contemplation. I think a lot about hunter-gatherer cavemen people with our monkey brains from millions of years ago, and how back then, entertainment was like at the end of the day, at least, they'd hear a story about how they killed a boar that day while around a fire, and then they'd play a drum for hours, and that was like, whoa, like that was amazing. Like, that was their media, and maybe it happened once a night, maybe less frequently, I don't know. But nowadays we have every song and every movie in our pocket, accessible whenever we want. And I think there is a lot that is lost because of this convenience. And I think what's lost is namely our ability to pay attention to stuff and our sensory clarity around phenomena. When you just have access to just constant dopamine hits, you become a little addict, and suddenly just having quiet in your spatial field of awareness is just intolerable. You have to be entertained. I know really good animators now who say things to me like, dude, I cannot work without a podcast on. And that's worth considering. I don't think that should be a statement just taken for granted. Like, yeah, that's who I am. That's what my mind is like. I need to have a podcast on while I work. It's like, well, let's unpack that a little bit. Your passion is animating, and you need to be distracted by something to do it. It's a little weird. Would you have a podcast on while you were having sex with someone? Why not? Is it because you love that person? Well, don't you love animating? But there's of course a situation of like, okay, what if I don't love my job or the thing I'm doing? Like, what if I have to get through these dishes, I have to get out of traffic, or the job I'm doing right now sucks. Like, you're gonna tell me that it's bad to have on a podcast? And no, I'm not gonna say it's bad. I'm not laying any judgment here. I'm not saying that I put on podcasts while I work sometimes, or music or what have you. But I am trying to lay the point that I think doing this consistently fragments your attention. I think over time, just over and over, shifting your focus from work to podcast every other moment makes it really hard to pay attention. And I think it's one of the causes, not the cause, not even the biggest cause, but one of the causes for why I think there's so much more anxiety amongst my generation. Because our brains are just moving all over the place. So, oh, hang on, my dog's barking. So my 2 cents I'm offering is just trying to not do that and seeing what is it like to just have 10 minutes of silence. Like, can you get to your destination in the car without a podcast on for 5 or 10 minutes? And if not, what does that mean? Full disclosure, like I'm really into meditation. I do it like for an hour a day for these kind of reasons. So I've got a little bit of an agenda going on, a bit of a non-suffering agenda I'm trying to push on other people. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right, I think that's all I got on this one. Thanks for listening. Ciao.